Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural video blog of Soccer Safari in regards to Soccer Talk. Today's Thursday, the last day before the tournament begins, and the whole country is rife. They can't wait for it to begin. I can even hear drums in the background. Even as I'm sitting here, I can hear them somewhere off in the city. It's definitely, the excitement is palpable. It's kind of a quiet day, and I wanted to give American fans a little bit of an idea of what to expect as the tournament begins tomorrow. Obviously, let's talk about the USA first. There's a couple of burning questions that are going on in USA camp that need to be addressed. The first and foremost is the injury concerns to a number of key players. Jozy Altidore and Oguchi Onyewu have both been not training with the full team for a number of days this week as the team prepares for their opening game against England on Saturday. Jozy Altidore, a 20-year-old forward who played in England this past year, has been nursing an ankle injury, and according to Bob Bradley, he's going to be fully fit and ready to go for Saturday's game, which is pretty important for the USA because he's definitely the most respected USA striker, and his playing well is going to go a long way for the USA's success in this tournament. The other question mark is Oguchi Onyewu in the back. He signed with AC Milan after a fantastic Confederations Cup last year, but sustained a knee injury in mid-October while playing for the national team against Costa Rica in the final qualifier. He hasn't played in a competitive match in nearly 8 months. As all soccer fans know, and for those of us that don't know soccer that well, England has some premier strikers, and the U.S. defense is going to be pressured heavily in their match on Saturday. Not only Wayne Rooney, but Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard in the midfield, and Jermaine Defoe and Peter Crouch up front. It's going to be very difficult for the USA defense if they're not 100% ready to go for this game. One position that I mentioned in my blog a couple of days ago that seems to have been settled is that Steve Cherundolo, who plays his club soccer in Germany, is probably going to be starting at right back. He delivers the ball real well, and even though he's diminutive in size, he captains Hannover 96 on occasion and is well respected with his club team. So it looks like he's going to get the nod over Jonathan Spector of West Ham to play right back. Furthermore, for the USA, is who's going to play up front with Jozy Altidore, whether it be Edson Buttle of the LA Galaxy or Robbie Finley of Real Salt Lake, both play in the MLS. Robbie Finley is known to have more pace, and a lot of people are tipping him to start in replace of Charlie Davies, the pacey striker who was in a car accident in October in Washington, D.C. and did not make the World Cup squad. Edson Buttle, the other option up front, is 29, and coming into this tournament, he had 11 minutes of international experience. He'd widely been overlooked as a striker at the international level and was really just not considered to be good enough to score goals at this level. But he's coming off of 9 goals in 7 games to start his season in MLS, and sometimes as a coach, you have to take the guy who's in form. He proved he could score goals against Australia last week in their last friendly before the tournament begins, and I wouldn't be surprised if Buttle got the start. He still has pace, but he can also hold the ball up. One thing that American soccer fans have been inundated with in the build-up to the World Cup is this game against England on Saturday. I can only speculate to how much the media has pumped up the importance of this game. Don't get me wrong, it's an important game. Every game in the group stage is an important game, and you need to get points wherever you can. Obviously for the USA, playing well in their opener is going to go a long way. The one thing that people need to notice is we can lose to England and still advance. We just need to be able to beat the teams that we should be able to beat in Slovenia and Algeria. The thing that American soccer fans, I don't think they realize, is that neither of these teams are going to be walkovers. Slovenia had one of the best defensive records in European qualifying, and while they don't have many names that are household names in European soccer, they're going to be tough to score against. And if they can get a quick counterattack and put a goal in the back of the net against the USA, it could be tough for us to come back and secure points in that match. Algeria is another sleeper. They finished tied in their group with Egypt in qualifying and had to go to a playoff where they beat the reigning African Cup of Nations champions in Egypt. And to be honest with you, the Egyptians are one of the most respected sides in Africa. So for Algeria to have beaten them says a lot about their quality. They have a number of players that start for club teams in Europe, and they're not going to be an easy team to beat. So I'll go on and talk a little bit about Group A, which is the games that are going to be featured on Friday. Obviously, the first matchup is going to be between South Africa and Mexico. It's very important for Bafana Bafana to start off this tournament well. They're the underdogs, and they're deep trouble of becoming the first team never to advance out of the group stages as the host nation. On paper, Mexico's a better team. There's no doubt about it. In back, they have reliable defenders. And Rafa Marquez, who plays for Barcelona, it looks like he's back in training after sustaining an injury, and he was questionable, but it looks like he'll be ready to go. And up front, they have a number of young stars that are looking to break into the Mexican lineup. Giovanni Dos Santos, who plays for Tottenham, is going to be most likely starting up front. And it looks like Carlos Vela is going to get the nod in the midfield over Andres Guardado, who plays for Deportivo La Coruña. Mexico, like I said, on paper, are definitely the better team. It's just whether or not the South African fans can play their vuvuzelas to the fullest and become the 12th man that Bafana will need them to be. The other two teams in the group, France and Uruguay, as little as a month and a half ago, were considered probably the favorites to get out of the group stages. But the French team, more than any other team in the build-up to this tournament, has been documented to have the most unrest in the locker room. Raymond Domenech is one of the least respected coaches in the World Cup. There's been numerous documents and interviews with the players where they question his ability. They'd like to give their input, but Domenech wants nothing to do with it. Thierry Henry, despite being 32 and not playing very well for Barcelona this past year, by many of the players is deemed to be worthy enough to start, and the once captain, it looks like, is going to be starting on the bench. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how the French team responds to the adversity they've heaped upon themselves a little bit. There's no doubting the talent that the French have in Franck Ribéry and Nicolas Anelka and Patrice Evra and William Gallas. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of European players that play in top leagues and have key roles for top teams. But the question is whether they can actually play together. They haven't scored goals in the build-up to this event. In all their recent friendlies, they've struggled to play together and play well as a team. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they do. Personally, I see France pulling it all together and making a decent run at this tournament. I think that they're just too talented not to be able to pull it together. Uruguay, you just can't count out Diego Forlan and Luis Suarez up front. When playing well, they can be one of the top combinations as strikers in this World Cup. Diego Forlan, who plays for Atletico Madrid, scored both of his team's goals in the Europa League final where they won 2-1 against Fulham. He just has a nose for goal. It's that simple. He sees an opportunity and he does the most with it. And that's what you look for in an event like this. You need results quickly, you need results every time you play, and you can't miss your opportunities. Diego Forlan is one of the premier poachers in the world, and he's going to be very important for Uruguay's chances. Luis Suarez scored 35 times for Ajax in the Netherlands this year, was in all competitions. He is in great form. It's going to be tough for France to beat an in-form Uruguay if they're not scoring goals. This is the first installment that I've had of actual soccer talk in my blog, and I look forward to, in the future, wrapping up the day's events with a quick little video blog every day to talk a little bit about the games and give you some input on what the word on the street is around here. So, with one day to go, I can't wait, and I'm sure you guys can't either. So, sit back, enjoy it, and have a fantastic month. I'll see you guys in a couple days.